All right. Benjamin Smith is here to teach us a little bit about the ultimate health model. And I've got a chance to talk to him just a little bit today. I've read his book, and I didn't bring the book, but I got the basic, like, why are you sick? And we're going to get to that one here. But first, I'm going to ask Benjamin to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your journey is all about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Robert. I really appreciate it, the opportunity to share all this stuff. And, my journey started when I was a kid. I was a curious kid asking questions all the time about why the sky is blue, why the ground is green. I just want to know. I was just totally curious. So fast forward, 40 years, I became an auto detailer after college and been doing that for 30 years. All along, I've been studying health. And back in 1985, my mom got diagnosed with the C word. And I didn't like to say the words because negative words produce negative connotations, but we all know what the C word is. And so I was like, oh no. And so she was in remission for 40 years till 2019. And so I wasn't even thinking about health back then. I thought, oh, that's not, that's horrible. But she went to remission. Everything's great. Then in 2008, my sister got diagnosed with that. And I still wasn't really, I was kind of more interested in that. But then when she passed away in 2012, I was like, nuh-uh, this ain't cool. So I started diving into as much research as I could about health. I want to know everything I could. Why? Why is this happening? I don't think your body wants to kill itself. So I just dug and dug for the last 10 years, reading, researching, reading hundreds of articles and hundreds of papers, trying to figure it out. 2019, my real mom, because my stepmom's still alive, passed away. And in the meantime, had a bunch of family members pass away, friends of family members, all the, from the C word. And it's rampant. And so I decided I'm going to become a health coach, help people. And so I went to Primal Health Coaching, Mark Sisson. Do you know Mark Sisson over there?
I know of Mark Sisson. I haven't met him yet, but great guy. Love his stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mark Sisson. Is my camera right? Is it?
Yeah, I got you right. You see me okay?
Yeah. So I studied with them, and I got a degree in, a certificate to be a health coach. And then I thought, okay, well, do I really want to be a coach and like babysit people? I wasn't sure. I thought, maybe that's not for me. So my friend said, why don't you write a book? I go, okay, I'll write a book. Oh my God, Dr. Robert, don't do that. It was agonizing. It was excruciating, from ghostwriters to writing it. I got scammed out a bunch of money, and it was agonizingly hard. And then I thought, oh, marketing, that'll be easy. Oh, no, that's 20 times harder. So anyway, that's kind of my journey. And so, yeah, I wrote this book on health because I just started putting pieces of puzzles together. I'm like, well, we always hear stress causes inflammation. And I thought, well, maybe inflammation causes stress. So what I would do is I put these pieces together, as you can see on the on the model that I made. So if dehydration or if inflammation causes stress, and dehydration probably causes inflammation, then maybe they're connected. So I just did a bunch of research, cross-referenced it hundreds of times, trying to see if it's right. And then what about mitochondrial dysfunction? We always talk about that. That's in the news lately, the mitochondria, and how actually they're working on this guy. I was reading this research you might find fascinating. He was they're trying to make mitochondria in bioreactors. Have you heard about that?
I have heard a little bit about it.
That's fascinating. So like a mitochondrial bank.
Well, I still question a little bit mitochondrial dysfunction, but the nanomotors that basically run everything in our bodies, and we're going to talk about inflammation, about structured water. We're going to talk about deuterium depletion, and ultimately there's some damage going on in our bodies that is related to something, and maybe you can hit a little bit on your belief in inflammation as the leading cause of disease, and what are the causes of inflammation, and how can we better approach those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So the inflammation is most likely, and I always like to say most likely, probably, because no one knows for sure. So I like to kind of preface all these things by saying that inflammation is caused by our lifestyle, right? I mean, that's kind of just, stress, what we eat, toxins in the environment. But there's a lot of things that people don't talk about, like you read in my book about breathing incorrectly through your mouth is causing inflammation. And that's one of the major ones causing inflammation that no one's really addressing. And the mineral deficiencies in the soil, that's causing inflammation, because what it's actually doing on a biological level is it causing chronic dehydration. And there's a very interesting book it's called The Water Cure. And when I was writing my book, it's kind of like my Bible that I read all the time, because this guy is just beyond intelligent. And he talks about water and how it relates to everything. And the body goes into a water management system when it's under stress or inflammation. And so all these things are kind of interchangeable. And so what's really at the root, I believe, of everything is chronic dehydration. So when you eat sugar or processed food, or you have stress, or all these things, what you're doing is you're causing inflammation. But as my model shows, you're causing chronic dehydration, which is causing more inflammation. It's a vicious circle.
Is it enough to just drink more water?
Yes and no, because it will help to flush out the toxins and bring nutrients to the cells. But if the water is not in a structured form, the body has to structure it. So what does that mean? It means it has to put it into the structured water is basically the water molecules that have been altered to form clusters, right? That's what structured water is. It's water that's structured together in patterns like crystals, because water is a liquid crystal. And that's not up for debate. That's been proven. I mean, that's just common knowledge. So what your body's constantly doing that a lot of people don't understand is its main function is to structure water. Mm-hmm. So when the water's, you've talked about the glycocalyx, we can talk about that later. The water's going through the blood vessels in a spiral, because the spiraling, remember I write in the book, vortexing is structuring water along with magnets, electromagnetic energy, sunlight, all that stuff's in your blood vessels. So it's structuring the water, and the heart structures water too. So that's one of the main jobs of the body, is to structure water to pass information.
So it's all electromolecular energy. It's all communicating in a way that I think we don't quite see or understand. And maybe you could touch a little bit on your take on the glycocalyx and how the glycocalyx is critical for water structure and water's holding into the body also.
Yeah. So Dr. Gerald Pollack, so there's three phases. Water is liquid, solid, and gas, but it's also a gel. And that's been known for a while. But he's been doing a lot of experiments recently on the structure of water and why the structure is so important. So what's going on? Water structures along hydrophilic materials. And so what does that mean? Every cell membrane is a phospholipid. The phosphate part is hydrophilic, and the lipid part is hydrophobic. So if it's hydrophilic, it's water it's negatively charged water too, because when it structures into these patterns or hexagons, and what these hexagons are is a negative charge because of the way the oxygen and the hydrogen and the angles of it and the amounts of it. If you do the math, it comes a negative charge with each of these structured water molecules, right? So that negative charge also, what it does is it separates the positive charge out into the lumen and into the blood flow, and acts like a battery. What's the glycocalyx do? Well, as you've talked about brilliantly I remember I watched one of your videos, Robert, on the glycocalyx. I learned from you partly. And it is, I believe, and I write in my book, remember I said it's the satellite system of the book, it's the satellite system of the cell. Because communicator, it controls everything, period. So I believe that I don't know if all the receptors, most of the receptors on the cell membrane, when they say cell membrane receptors, they're talking about the glycocalyx, period. That's it. The glycocalyx is like a forest, and the receptors are like trees. So when you have stress on the body, dehydration, all these things, you damage that layer, right? Because you're damaging a structured water layer, because a structured water layer is covering every cell, and the glycocalyx is covering every cell. So there's two lines of protection for the cell. It's a brilliant design created by something a million times smarter than us, really. And so anyway, like glycocalyx. So when you're dehydrated, what's happening, this is really fascinating, is a cell is not getting the water it needs. So it has to fend for itself, because what the body's doing is it's pulling water from other places to put in, like the heart, the lungs, because it doesn't know what's to get more water. So it's prioritizing water time. So a cell that's on its own will break down proteins for energy, or break, it's like a house, like they're not getting their groceries, so they have to, eat whatever in the house. They break down actually some of the cell receptors on the cell membrane to use as energy. And so some of those membranes possibly maybe are, if it's a proliferation, receptor. There's a lot to this. It's so complicated and so fascinating.
It's one of the most important and fascinating areas that I think is so amazing. We're seeing, so I went into the nutritional aspects, also meditation, prayer, breath work, yoga, all these things similar to you, because I was suffering. I saw my good friends and family members dying younger and suffering from many diseases. And I went on this quest similar to yourself in why? Why are we all getting so sick? What's wrong with us? And inflammation is on the rise in the environment that we put ourselves in. What do you think is the worst thing that we've done as modern humans that has increased the risk of all of these diseases we're suffering from?
Well, I think it's simple. It's the phones. It's electronics. And you're smiling because, and there's
I got to shut this off. I'm sorry, I can't. I got
it. Yeah. No, I mean it's funny, but it's not funny. But no, that's the problem. And so because what's happening is that it's the electromagnetic frequencies from our phones and from all these things are causing stress on the cells, which is causing inflammation. It's that simple.
Do you think that, I mean, even if we didn't carry this thing around,
yeah,
and you didn't have these things,
yeah,
aren't electromolecular forces everywhere because of the way we're transmitting and receiving all this information, because our electronic technology has sort of created an environment that you can't run and hide?
No, you can't. So here's the thing, is that it's the unnatural frequencies, Robert, we're talking about, not the natural ones. So I write in my book, the Schumann resonance. Remember that? The Schumann resonance I talk about, from grounding. It's
one quick, Benjamin. Yeah. What's the name of your book?
Why Are You Sick? How to Reclaim Your Health with the Ultimate Health Model. There it is.
And we're going to have a link to this, but I think this is one of the most important books that I think is out there, because it's easy to read and understand.
Thank you.
It's well researched.
Thank you,
and from a human being that really is passionate about learning, teaching, and inspiring.
Thank you for that.
And so do organisms and cells create energy that is in our environment?
Yeah. So from a basic chemistry point of view and physics, everything is energy, right? Nothing. Right. So of a cell or of an atom is 99.99% empty space, and a proton, an electron, and neutron, which is parts of an atom for people who don't know. I mean, this is basic chemistry. Those aren't like balls. When I was a kid, or when I was in chemistry in high school, you get these pictures, right? Remember? And it looks like a neutron and a proton's a ball, and the electron's a little ball falling around. No, those aren't balls, because balls are made of plastic or made of something. So it's what's fascinating to me is that it's nothing. So if nothing is everything and everything is nothing, what in what in the heck is going on here? So the energies, it's all energy. And that's what people need to understand. There's energy coming from you, coming from Earth, coming from the sun, coming from the universe, whatever it is.
So energy is everywhere and it's everything. Although I always say we're creating a story of what we think things are, but it may have nothing to do with what things are really, but we're describing them based on our ability to see the universe and actually create the universe, because it's all created in the mind anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated to your, and again, the what I loved is the comment about lifestyle factors, positive thoughts and emotions. Maybe you could touch a little bit about how thoughts and emotions may affect our lifestyle factors, our health and wellness, our ill health, as one of the major factors.
Yeah. So thoughts and emotions. Well, whatever you think, you're thinking. You know, what I read something about 98% of your thoughts are the same thoughts you had the day before, or something like that. But your thoughts and emotions are they basically, in one word, they cause stress. If you have positive thoughts, you're reducing stress or emotions. If you have negative thoughts, you're increasing your stress and inflammation. So if I elaborate on that, what does that mean? So positive thoughts, if it increases relaxation and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part, you are able to digest your food better, your circulation works better, your breathe, everything is working more in tandem, because that relaxation state is calming everything down, calming down the inflammation, increasing the mitochondrial health, everything. And if you do the opposite, it's just the opposite.
Oxytocin, serotonin go up, epinephrine, cortisol go down, and the energy and vibration of our body, our cells in our body, bring about more health and wellness.
Yeah, and what I believe it's doing on a really molecular level is it's changing the structure of the water, right? And that's what's fascinating, is changing the structure. So when you have the negative thoughts, you're destructuring it, and when you have the positive thoughts, you're structuring. And what's fascinating about this, and you're gonna love this, Robert. They have done studies, okay, and people can look this up, around the DNA molecule, okay, is structured water. So water's around everything, but they found a sacred pattern, like the Fibonacci sequence, or the what's the knowledge shell thing called again, where it's it's a circle. What's that thing called? I don't remember, but there's a sacred pattern, literally, of the way the molecules of the water are structured together around the DNA, like it's something, ethereal. So that's how important water is. Like, it's a structured sequence.
Well, I kind of look at it as that glycocalyx, which is the electromolecular energy that is attracting or repelling things, and the water interacts with that glycocalyx, which ultimately gives it its true function and structure more than anything. Because if you do not have a glycocalyx, no life exists.
Well, that's where all the receptors are.
That's right. And if you look, and so if on the surface of the earth there were no plants, there would be no life.
That's interesting. So I make a novel, I make a lot of analogies in the book. I like that. The plants are like the glycocalyx of the earth.
100%, 100%. And so
Wow, fascinating.
they have an energy, plus they have a charge that attracts and repels water molecules and manipulates the environment, because ultimately they're communicating both under the soil via their root systems and above the soil via their
Sunlight.
glycocalyx, and it's all sugar. And that's one of the most important things I think we don't understand, is that, well, what's sugar for? Is it energy or is it communication?
And you bring that up. That's interesting too. So I believe is sugar for energy or communication? Sugar, I believe, is a backup energy source to obviously fats and proteins on a keto diet or a carnivore diet. But what is the ultimate energy source? It's water. It's not ketones, it's not fat, it's not protein, it's not sugar. And so what's going on here is that in that book, The Water Cure, the guy mentions, well, the receptors, I don't remember the page that's on. The receptors, there's some receptors that use minerals, especially in the brain, just like a generator. And so what it does is it spins these receptors with the osmotic flow of the water, spins these receptors and creates hydroelectric energy and ATP. I thought that was fascinating.
It's like a hydroelectric power plant.
Yes,
but it's
every cell membrane.
I say water is a life force.
It is. It is.
And maybe when we use the word energy, because when we talk about metabolic energy, like making ATP, it's all these things are in play that are important in creating our ATP.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, we got all these nanomotors moving. You got the flow of water and the flow of other molecules and solutes that are critical for our ultimate function.
Absolutely. And when you said that, the flow of actually, I lost my train of thought. I got so much stuff in my head. Go ahead, keep going.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So tell us a little bit about stress management and nose breathing.
Okay. Why is that important? Well, interesting enough, why is nose breathing important for stress management? Nose breathing is important for stress management because it increases the parasympathetic response as opposed to sympathetic. And like we said a minute ago, parasympathetic is the rest and digest, the relaxation. Sympathetic is fight or flight. So when you nose breathe, interesting enough, your body, when you nose breathe, I wrote this in the book, one nostril opens and then the other one opens. They're not both open at the same time, because and one nostril is for parasympathetic and one is for sympathetic. I don't know which one it is, but they're constantly changing to regulate the homeostasis of the body. That's fascinating to me. So it's constantly, instantaneously, or not instantaneously, like every couple hours, it changes of whatever the body needs from parasympathetic to sympathetic, depending on the situation. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a meditation about breath work, breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and focusing on our breathing. And my sense a little bit is that stress being the thinking and clearing the mind of all the negative thoughts and focus on the breathing. But what you're saying is the actual act of the type of breathing we're doing has some effects on our stress hormones, fight or flight or rest.
Physiological. Yeah, physiology. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And a little bit about water and sleep. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about sleep. Now, I sleep about 6 hours a day. I go to bed at 9. I get up at 3 in the morning. I take 1 to 3 10-minute naps a day. Not always, most of the time. And I get the sense that, we got this idea that we're supposed to run, be doing all the time. What can you do to help us so we can get a little bit more valuable sleep, more rest, and reset the the miracle magical machine.
Okay. So how do we get more sleep? How do we deal with sleep? So sleep is obviously vital. Sleep is a way to repair the body and rejuvenate cells. I mean, so sleep is necessary for the health of the body in general terms. Now, a more detailed explanation. Sleep is what I write in the book. Sleep is your body resetting its software, and grounding, if we want to talk about that later, is the body recharging its battery. So I always like to use a lot of analogies in my book and in life because it makes it easier for people to understand. So if you think of us like we're computers, we're basically biological robots is what we are. That's the way I feel. So the sleep is resetting your software and resetting all the systems and all that. And so I write in my book, imagine when you sleep, it's like your body operating on itself to repair cells, to repair damage, to renew cells, to remove old cells, whatever it wants to do. That's
rest and repair. So rather than rest and digest, it all depends if you're consuming food the day 2 or 3 prior, but ultimately you're saying it's about rest and repair.
Absolutely. And with sleep, what you're doing, and we can talk about this if you want later, is circadian rhythms. And I think personally, I believe that is one of the things that is the most important thing that no one's really talking about. That I believe is critical, because if you disrupt your circadian rhythms and your biological clock, so you have the hypothalamus and a master clock, and then every cell has its own clock, and the mitochondria make melatonin in every cell. So there's a master clock at the hypothalamus, and there's all these secondary clocks. They got to coordinate. And so I use this analogy. If you're running around stressed out, you're not sleeping, you have an off schedule, or you don't have a set schedule. Imagine going to a job or an office or something like that, a business, and everyone's running around. They don't know what they're doing. One person's working, other guy's playing guitar, somebody's eating, somebody's just playing on their phone, but no one's doing their job. It's all chaos. So that's how I like to look at it with their circadian rhythms and sleep. These things, the circadian rhythms helps with sleep and the biological clock. And so it keeps everything functioning. It's that, and that biological clock has to stay set. We eat in the daytime, we sleep at nighttime. That's how it was designed for 1 million years.
So what should our circadian habits be?
Your circadian habits should be doing the same, like you said. You get up at 9, you go to bed at 9, get up at 3. Go to bed at 10, get up at 5. Go to bed at 11, get up at 6. Do the same thing every day. If you want to go to bed at 2 in the morning, get up at 4 in the afternoon, I wouldn't suggest that, but you're still in a rhythm. It's probably not ideal. But you have to get into a rhythm of a particular pattern.
Do you think our ancestors were intentionally running around all day, and they take energy drinks and work to stay up as long as they can? And
what do you think? No, of course not. No, they had water, they had beef, they had some fruits and vegetables, not even fruits and vegetables. They had some things they could grab off a tree, a leaf or a nut or whatever. I mean, that's what they had.
Let's talk a little bit about nutrition and your thoughts on nutrition and how that plays in our ill health. Dr. Rob Kiltz, another beautiful, spectacular day. And I just want to send thanks to all of those for watching the newest episode of Carnivore Conversations. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, and other streaming platforms to gain access to the full 1-hour episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more to come. God bless.